Okay, well, hello, hola, everybody. All right, it's me, Profesor Cañedo here, and this is the final nuts and bolts video for the for the session. Yeah, we're definitely coming to the end of the road, the end of the line here, and the last major assignment you have for the class, of course, is the one on the U.S.-Mexico War, and this is actually an all new video. The video that I used to have for this assignment, it's an older one that I recorded back around it was the fall of 2013 semester, and the recording method that it came out. But let's just say it was I wouldn't say primitive, but it was definitely something early and something makeshift. But I've got the Camtasia software here, and uh, and we'll take a look at of course, not just the class, not just the class itself that we have right now, but I'll also show you quickly the assignment worksheet, and most importantly, I'll show you the PBS website in which you're going to track down these articles. Okay, all right. So you know the due date. Of course, the due date is going to be on the last Friday of the session. So after we come back from spring vacation, the Friday after that is when the assignment is due, and I already have the assignment worksheet queued up here on a separate tab. So let me go ahead and open that up for you. So Friday of March 25th at midnight. That's when this is going to be due, and because this is right at the end of the session, I can't accept any late papers. So all your papers must be submitted on Friday, March 25th at midnight, or just 1 minute before midnight. And like with the other assignments, the book review and the EBSCO assignment, please make sure that the page length is 5 to 7 pages, and of course, the page length does not count a title page or a works cited page. So the 5 to 7 pages, of course, is the pure text that you have in the that you have for your that you have for your paper. Okay, and of course, in the worksheet here, I give more details in terms of the parameters. I'll talk more about those parameters as I open up the website. And here are just a sample of some of the articles that you can use for this particular assignment. And of course, I'll talk more about this in just a few moments here. All right, so the way to find these articles, that you have to track down, that you have to discuss, you have to go to the PBS website for the program on the U.S.-Mexico War that PBS first aired back in 1998 to coincide with the 150th anniversary of the conclusion of the U.S.-Mexico War, which ended in 1948 with the signing of the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. And then, of course, once the U.S. Senate ratified it and the Mexican Congress countersigned it, then after that, it became the law of the land for both Mexico and the United States by the late spring of 1848. And if we go back here into Blackboard, into the class menu, you notice I already have I just added a link to the U.S. Mexican War PBS website. So we click that. That'll take us over to the website here. I've already got a tab queued up. So let me go ahead and open up the tab here, and I'll stay with this tab with the website for the remainder of this video. And I figure within 10 to 12 minutes, this video should wrap up. This most likely will be one of the shorter videos of the entire session. Okay, so here's the website, and as I'm going through each section, I'll give you a clue, a cue in terms of the best way the best way to frame your paper. And unfortunately, I apologize for the little ad right here. Daniel Tiger, stop and go potty. Don't let Donald Trump see that. Mr. Trump seems to like to relish getting into that type of bathroom toilet humor, like he did last fall. And I'm sure he'll probably continue with that for the rest of the campaign season. But again, everybody, what you have to do for this assignment is you have to review three sets of articles within the context of the website here. And the articles are in the category. Here are the categories right now for you. It's Prelude to War, War, and Aftermath. So in each category, you open up each section, and in each section, there are a series of articles, and you're to choose one article per section. So you're going to analyze 3 articles together. And like with a book review in the EBSCO assignment, in which you do a combination of summarizing and then analyzing whether it was the article for the EBSCO assignment or the book for the book review. You're gonna do the same process here for this. So even though the principle is the same, the way you format it, the way you structure, it's going to be a little bit different. So I'll explain a little bit more about how to do that in just a few moments here. But when you start your paper, make sure you have a good introduction paragraph in which you introduce the scope of your assignment. That is, the scope of your arguments. What is it you want to cover in the entirety of your paper? And in that, definitely mention the 3 articles you're going to cover. Talk about maybe your whatever views or ideas you had about the U.S.-Mexico War going into the class, what you knew about the war in the first place, or what you wanted to find out about the war. In other words, your introduction paragraph should be at least half a page, maybe 3/4 of a page, in which you outline your views coming into the assignment, and then mention the 3 articles that you're going to cover. So in other words, your introductory paragraph is to talk about the wide scope of your entire paper. That is in your opening paragraph. Don't start talking about your first article. Don't do that, because if you do that, that'll pretty much wreck your arguments for the rest of the paper. Make sure your opening paragraph talks about the entirety of what you want to talk about, and then once you do that, then go ahead and get going and talk about your first article. So in your second paragraph, then go ahead and start talking about the Prelude to War section. So let's go ahead and click that, and we'll get away from the silly Daniel Tiger stuff. Oh no! It looks like Daniel Tiger is going to be with us for the rest of the the session. Well, I'll try to go a little bit quickly here, so Daniel's not staring at us too much for this video. But in the Prelude to War section, what that means? Oh yeah, if I just scroll, then we'll get rid of Daniel Tiger. All right. So in Prelude to War, what this means is this: these are factors leading up to the war. What was happening in the U.S. and Mexico leading up to the war, in terms of manifest destiny, in terms of trade, in terms of the tactics, the policies of James Polk, or what's happening in Mexico leading up to the war. So in other words, the Prelude to War section gives you an overview about all the factors on both the U.S. side and the Mexico side, which in essence began to move toward each other and then collided with each other in the middle part of the 1840s, and then exploded into war in the spring of 1846, and then finished off in the fall of 1847. So in other words, Prelude means the factors, all the events which pulled the U.S. and Mexico into war. And here's a great selection of articles here. So from all of these choices here, choose one of these articles and give both a summary and a commentary on that article. So in your opening paragraph, which I talked about a few minutes ago, you gave me the panorama of what you want to do in the entirety of your paper. Then in your second paragraph, give me a summary about the article. So in other words, let's go ahead and let's see if anyone want to work on this article called An Idea or a Justification. And this is a great article written by David M. Pletcher, who used to be at Indiana University. So in your second paragraph, the thing you want to do is to summarize the main points that Pletcher is talking about. What are the things that he's talking about here? That is he talking about the politics of the United States? Is he talking about economic issues? Is he talking about culture? Maybe he mentions religion. So in other words, all the main points in terms of policy, ideas, themes, technologies, all of that fun stuff. Comment on that. Just give a summary of those points in your second paragraph. Now, if your second paragraph happens to run pretty long, that if it's taken you quite a while to talk about all the main points that Pletcher is talking about, that's okay. Then make a second paragraph, make another paragraph. So in other words, you can have 2 paragraphs in which you summarize Pletcher's article, and then after you finish summarizing the main points of what Pletcher talks about, then go into a commentary paragraph, that is an analysis paragraph, that is what you thought the main points of the article were, or your perspective, your perceptions of the article, what you thought about Pletcher's arguments. Did you like them? Did you think he was on target? Did you think maybe he missed something? Was he too pro-American, or maybe he might have had some more anti-American tendencies? That type of thing. So in other words, make sure that you have a paragraph in which you give your analysis, your your analysis, your perspective, your ideas, your thoughts on what you felt were the most important salient points, the takeaways, so to speak, in terms of what Pletcher was talking about. So Pletcher's article isn't really that lengthy, but he's got a lot of great ideas, a lot of great perspectives to bring about here. So definitely, there's plenty of room for you to work with in terms of both summarizing and analyzing the article. So once you finish off with that section, then you can go on to the war section and then choose another article and do the same process. So let's say your first paragraph was the opening introduction, which you talked about all of your main points. Your second paragraph was a summary of Pletcher's article, and then your third paragraph, the one after that, was your commentary on the article. So now that you're done with that, then for the paragraphs after that, repeat the same process, but this time go to the war section. So let's go ahead and open up the war section. And let's see what kind of options we have here. Okay, a lot of good items here talking about events happening during the course of the war itself. Not just a lot of the key battles, but also things such as military aspects. That is, what was the army like? That is, the U.S. Army in terms of manpower, tactics, strategy, uniforms, and what was the Mexican army like. Those are all things covered in this section here. The media, newspapers. We hear quite a lot about the role of the media today and what's happening with the election. That is, of course, Mr. Trump likes to use the media quite a bit as a scapegoat, a whipping boy, so to speak. He loves to make the media his one of his enemies as he's going on his speeches. So whereas the media, that is whether it's the cable TV news, blogs, or the regular network news or newspapers, which plays a central role in the elections today, the media definitely had that same type of role with respect to the war, back in those days. So let's say that one of you would like to actually cover the role of the media, and you're interested in the U.S. newspapers. So let's open up this one right here. Again, you can choose any one of these. Oh, before I go into this, everybody, let me make one quick note here. In the Battles of the War section, some of these articles are very short. They're about maybe half, or about a third of the size of what we saw in the previous article, the one by Professor Pletcher. So in that case, if you come across some articles which are very tiny, very short, don't worry. If that's the case, then just write about two of these battles. So in other words, you can choose one longer article, especially from these areas here, and the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, or if you want to focus it on battles, then just choose two of these. That'll work out just fine. But in terms of the articles that have more meat on them, definitely these articles here and the one here about the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo itself. But let's say one of you wants to focus in on the U.S. press, so let's click that. Okay, and it's a great segment by Tom Riley. Riley talks about the role of the media in terms of newspapers back in those days. That is, some of the newspapers which really had a lot of course, pro-American sentiment in terms of saying that it was the U.S. Job to extend the boundaries of freedom, manifest destiny, liberty, democracy, blah, 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 all of that fun stuff, and that Mexico is a nation that they're weak, they're backward, they're this, they're that, they're goons, they're thugs, they're bums. You get the idea. A lot of the U.S. newspapers back in those days definitely had that sentiment, and that's what Riley talks about here in his column. So if you're going to choose U.S. press, this U.S. press article by Tom Riley, then devote one paragraph or two at the most, one or two paragraphs to a summary of the main points that Riley talks about, and then devote a paragraph after that in which you comment on the main points. That is, what you thought about the article, what you think about the U.S. press at the time, and likewise too, if you want to make it comparisons with the U.S. press back in those days to the U.S. press today in terms of covering the election, definitely feel free to bring about any type of contemporary issues as part of your analysis in not just this article, but any of the other articles that you comment on. So So again, that's the plan right here. So as you're going on in your paper, then devote one or two paragraphs to a summary of your war article, and then devote a paragraph to a commentary, your analysis about that particular article within the war section. All right, so now you're 2/3 done. You've completed your summary and commentary on the Prelude to War article, on a war article. Now I want to wrap things up with an aftermath article. So let's go ahead and move on to the aftermath section. Okay, in the aftermath of war section, you don't have a lot of things to choose from. Not as many article choices as in the previous two sections, but nonetheless, all of these articles are excellent. You have some articles with Mexican perspectives. You have some from U.S. perspectives. And the great perspective by Antonia Castañeda. It's both a Chicano and a Chicana perspective. So you want to look at that. I would recommend that. In fact, I would say that of these articles, my favorite that is the one that has the most thought-provoking ideas and analysis and commentary. Definitely go with Antonia Castañeda's. But like I said, all of these here are excellent articles. You can't go wrong with any of those. So let's say that you want to wrap up and you're interested in the perspective by Professor Robert Johansen. So let's open up Vast New Territories. And Professor Johansen, who used to teach at University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, he talks about the territories that the U.S. gains in the aftermath of the war. And of course, once the war ended, California, New Mexico, Arizona, large portions of present-day Colorado, Utah. These were all territories that were part of what was known as the Mexican Cession. Mexico was forced to relinquish those territories after the signing of the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. But in return, the U.S. provided $15 million in compensation for Mexico. I guess a way of being magnanimous and saying, okay, here you go, Mexicanos. Here's $15 million for $15 million for your trouble. But in any case, Johansen has some really interesting insight in terms of what the impact of the war meant to the United States in the mid-19th century. He talks about issues of society, of culture, of character, of geography, of politics, and abstract ideas. In other words, a lot of the ideas which were popular during the time of the American Revolution, where there was people like Thomas Paine, Jefferson, John Adams, and of course going into Washington, Alexander Hamilton, those people. Johansen makes a very good link between what that ideology meant back then and how it was translated to these times, and how a lot of Americans, you might say, in this era, in the mid-19th century, saw themselves as the ones to carry on the tradition of people like Washington, Adams, Jefferson, Paine, Thomas Paine, John Hancock, and all of those guys. So if this is the article that you're going to read in the aftermath of war section, then you know the drill. Devote one or two paragraphs to a summary of the article and one paragraph to a commentary. So the same formula that you've done with the Prelude to War and War sections. Follow that with the aftermath of war section. All right, and once you've done all that, once you have all your paragraphs together, that is your interchanging summary commentary on the three articles that you've chosen. Then wrap things up with one paragraph, or if you need more room, another paragraph. But have at least one paragraph, maybe two. But I think for the most part, you can sum up all your thoughts in one paragraph, which takes about 3/4 of a page, 1/2 to 3/4. I mean, don't go beyond that. Keep your paragraph length consistent as best you can throughout the course of your paper. But in one paragraph, sum up all your thoughts. What you think all this means to you. Talk about the collective experience that is all the combined ideas you picked up on in reading and summarizing, analyzing your three articles, what that all meant to you, and what that means within the context of the class. So whatever topics we've examined, that is, we'll examine in the last week of the session, and of course from the readings, from the PowerPoint, from the films, anything like that. Try to sum up all your thoughts in one final paragraph, in which bring everything together, everything you've learned from not just the assignment, but from the class itself, from the readings, maybe if any of you in your book review Write about the U.S.-Mexico War, your thought, that is, whatever thoughts you had from that book, that is everything, that is make your concluding paragraph, that is try to finish off with a bang, so to speak, and try to encapsulate all your thoughts in one final concluding paragraph. You see, everybody, one of the mistakes that I've seen in previous sessions, whether it's for this class or a Mesa College class, that also has the same assignment, is that in their last paragraph, I've had a few people in the past that is their final paragraph is just an analysis of the aftermath of war section, but then that's it. It's as if their paper has an incomplete tone to it. They talk about their aftermath of war article, but that's it. There's no conclusion. There's no there's no great finish to it. It's like listening to an album, whether it's something like, say, the Eagles, AC/DC, Bon Jovi, Steely Dan, whatever, and you're hearing the last song, and then before you get to the final conclusion, where it's a final guitar solo, a final chorus, or or just a series of weird chord changes. You expect that to happen, but then the song just stops abruptly. There's no ending. There's no conclusion. You're saying, what happened here? ¿Qué pasó? Where's the ending of it? There's a great guitar solo coming up, but it's there. It's missing. When you don't have a concluding paragraph in which you sum up all your thoughts, that's the feel your paper gets. So I want everybody to avoid that situation. Make sure you conclude all your thoughts in one final good paragraph, or if you need an extra paragraph, 2 paragraphs is fine. But all your thoughts about everything on the assignment, that's what I want to have you, that's what I want you to talk about in your final paragraph. All right, so that's it, everybody. So with that, the way I have it structured here, that'll definitely take you into the 5 to 7 page territory. But like I said, in this assignment, much like with the book review and the EBSCO review, you have summary and commentary. But in this case, you're to interchange your summary and commentary with each of your articles, whether that is starting with a prelude to war section, aftermath of war section, and then wrap things up with one final concluding paragraph. All right, and with that, everybody, I think that you're pretty much covered. So I hope this video was helpful in explaining not just how to get into the PBS website and finding articles, but giving you a sense of the best way to structure your arguments. That is, make sure you have good introductory and concluding paragraphs, and everything else in between, summary and commentary of all your 3 articles. If you follow that format, that'll give you the best chance of earning a high grade on this assignment. All right, so there you go, everybody. So you've got plenty of time to get this going. Due date, of course, not till after spring break. So hopefully this video was helpful. So at this point in time, definitely start thinking about what articles you want to check out. No need to tell me what articles you want to work on. Whatever is in there is here in the website. Go ahead and go for it. But again, just be sure that you choose one article each from Prelude to War, and Aftermath. Please don't make the mistake of choosing 3 articles from the Prelude section and saying, okay, Professor, I got my 3 articles, that's it. No, if you do that, you will be marked down harshly. So again, everybody, the key is 1 article each from Prelude, War, and Aftermath, summary and commentary on each article, good concluding and introductory paragraphs, and you follow that format, you'll be good to go, so to speak. All right, everyone, looks like I went a little bit longer than what I thought, but I think it's important for me to try to explain as best as possible all the key parameters and guidelines of what the assignment is all about. All right, everybody, that's it. That's the last nuts and bolts video for the session, but still a little bit of things to work on before we finally wrap up the class. All right, everyone, that's it from now, and I'll talk to you guys again very soon.